Okay, James, I think we can get going. As James
Yeah.
was saying, welcome to Zoomsmatics at Stack's Bowers Galleries, where we'll periodically be talking about auction previews and other opportunities, working with Stack's Bowers staff and great numismatists that we have here. Um, Tonight we'll be discussing the Larry H. Miller collection, as I said. Wonderful collection, as you can see, but that's not the only thing that we have going on this week. Larry's collection goes up for sale at 2 p.m. on Thursday, starting at 2 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday, but we have so much else on offer this week. We have Larry Ness's collection of Indian piece metals starting tomorrow afternoon. The best collection of Indian piece metals put together and offered since the forward sale was sold in our sale rooms in 2006 and 7. On Wednesday, we have the E Pluribus Unum collection, colonial coins and Washington metals and tokens. Again, some fascinating things, many of which have been off the market for decades. The Naples Bay collection is the highlight collection in U.S. numismatics, federal coinage, and that is the highlight collection of our regular U.S. coin sale, which happens on Wednesday and Thursday. We have our classic rarities night where the elite and high value coins are sold from a variety of consigners, and that is on the 13th, starting at 4 p.m. Pacific time, as you can see. So we also have a session of U.S. currency on the, let's see if you can scroll up, James. Yep. On that's session 6. And I believe that is on Thursday as well, November the 12th. So we're focused on Miller this evening, but much else to offer. And I should say, we understand that everyone has limited time to review. But if you do have any specific questions, feel free to email me or James. Our emails are at the bottom of our picture panes there. And we'll also be taking questions in real time here on during Zoomsmatics, so feel free to use the Q&A feature on Zoom to throw questions at us, and we will answer them live in real time as they come in. You know, some of you may know me, VK Nekparian. I've been with the company since 2000. Be finishing out my 21st year here at Stack's and Stack's Bowers. I started collecting when I was 6, and the rest, as they say, is history. I just kind of went nuts with it. After college, started at Stack's on the first day of 2000, and have been just learning tremendous things and meeting tremendous people all along the way. I got to meet James about 7-8 years ago at this point, and he's grown tremendously with the company, now senior numismatist and cataloger with us. James, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I remember interviewing with Viken early on in my pursuit of a job here at Stack's. Yeah, like Viken said, I started in 2013, but like most of us here, really, I was a collector my whole life. Up through high school and college, and fortunate to have found a position here at Stack's, and hardly is a day at work, truly a day at work. But I started like most people do, the gateway drugs of the coin industry, Morgan silver dollars, and we're going to dive into some of those today. I've since moved on to more classic American coins, large cents, colonials, even some ancient Greek coins. But it's hard to deny the attractiveness of the Morgan silver dollar. So the Miller collection that we're going to discuss today has some of the very finest known, and it's a real excitement even for a jaded numismatist like me or like Viken.
You're too young to be jaded, James. We've got lots more to see. But look, last week we talked about coins from a variety of consigners when we highlighted some of the great pieces that were in our Rarities Night presentation on our Zoom call, Zoom webinar last week, rather. Today we're focused on the collection of one person, Larry H. Miller. Larry collected during his lifetime. He had great advice. Kevin Lipton helped him put together some of these fantastic collections, which we'll be offering this month and part 2 next month in December. He was not well known for his collecting. He kept that part of his life private, but he was well known as the owner of the Utah Jazz. James, can you tell us a little bit more about Larry?
Yeah, sure. So, he kind of in a way embodies the American dream. He's a self-made man from humble beginnings in the parts department of an automotive dealership. He along with his wife Gail, expanded that to an empire of about 60 automotive dealerships throughout the Midwest, and in addition to a movie theater chain, and then of course, perhaps most famously, the ownership of the Utah Jazz from the 1980s to his death in 2009. But like Viken said, the meanwhile, he was just as passionately as he approaches business, he was also approaching numismatics and building this incredible collection, which we're really thrilled to offer over the next 2 months.
Yeah, and the thing I should add, James, is that when all of our viewers here and all of our bidders are considering, well, should I bid one more? Should I not? Should I bid one more? The answer is always yes. The proceeds are going towards a $50 million donation that the Miller family is giving to establish the primary children's hospital in Lehi, Utah. So the money here is going to a good cause.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little coins, James. I mean,
sure. Let's dive in.
Larry's built some great collections of all denominations from the cent on up. In this auction, we're featuring Lincoln cents, Buffalo nickels, Mercury dimes, Standing Liberty quarters, and Walking Liberty half dollars, kind of like your classic 20th century beautiful series. But sure. The focus, I think, tonight is going to be on Morgan dollars. Larry's Morgan dollars have an amazing gravitational pull. We describe his collection as world-class. I don't know if that moniker does it justice. I mean, he's got so many amazing things. And some of the coins that we're discussing tonight, I think to truly understand them, we need to kind of understand why the Morgan dollar exists and sure. why it died. Why did so many get melted down? James, maybe you can field that question as one of our senior numismatists.
Sure. So, I mean, the story really has its beginnings in the early 1870s. I mean, the panic of 1873 was this really global depression that occurred in 1873 and lasted through much of the 1870s. And, this was caused by a number of different things, over expansion after the Civil War, the tying up of capital in the American Railroad. But another contributing factor was the Coinage Act of 1873, which effectively removed us or put us onto a de facto gold standard, reducing the popularity and the utility of silver coinage in America. And this really devastated the Western silver mines. So then, we move forward another 5 years to later in the decade, and you have the Bland-Allison Act of 1878. Now, what this was the first of two critical pieces of legislation for the Morgan dollar series. This authorized the purchase of $2 to $4 million in silver every month from Western mines. So essentially, this is a subsidy to domestic silver mines. So this was, immediately we saw incredible mintage figures, and despite the fact that many of these coins were going into Treasury and mint vaults, it was this legislation demanded that we still purchase this. And we see that this was further emphasized by the Sherman Silver Purchase Act in 1890, which expanded it to an additional $4.5 million of silver every month. Now, these were both repealed in 1893. But by that time, the damage had already been done. Our vaults across the country were just stacked with silver dollars, and these weren't really needed for circulation, so they sat. So let's jump forward another 20 years. And we're at the very end of World War II, 1918. We have the Pittman Act. So again, another subsidy to domestic silver mines. What this did was set a maximum of 350 million silver dollars that would be repurchased and melted and sold either as bullion or recoined into subsidiary coinage. So of the maximum amount of 350 million silver dollars that could have been melted, 270 million silver dollars, these are coins that were in treasury vaults at the time that had been struck, over the previous 30 years. 270 million silver dollars were melted, and then another 270 million were struck. So, you have essentially, this is what explains the incredible high mintage of the 1921 Morgan Dollar series. The Pittman Act is essentially responsible for the entire peace silver dollar series. And what it did was create incredible rarity out of coins that were otherwise plentiful, and then were melted in large figures. So you have these very large mintages, but it's how they survived, or perhaps didn't survive, the Pittman Act of 1918 that really brings us the rarity that we know in a lot of these silver dollars.
Yeah, and James, I'd love to add, that's the history behind the creation and the demise of so many Morgan dollars. But we look at these things as collectors as well, and we look at everything as a date and mint mark and a quality these days. But that really wasn't the case early on when numismatics really got its start in the 1850s in the US. It wasn't until the 1890s that collecting coins that the federal government had produced was done by date and mint mark. Many collections just included one of a date. There wasn't even great information available until 1893 on what date mint mark combinations existed. So that book, Mint Marks, in 1893 opened people's eyes to mint mark collecting, and it gradually grew. But it wasn't until the 1930s when you have publications like Waite-Raymond's Standard Catalog of U.S. Coins, which kind of enumerated what you could have and collect, and it was readily available and easy to read. And of course, you have the coin albums that we take for granted today, with a slot for every coin that exists. So many of the coins that we're going to discuss tonight are mint marked coins, which would have been a type coin basically. Before the 1890s, which with the advent of mint mark collecting, that becomes more and more important. So you have people starting to hunt for that and fill in the holes in the collection. So that's huge to collecting things like Morgan dollars. So moving now that I think we have a basic understanding of why the Morgan dollar exists and the background to why some of these date mint marks are going to be so significant, so rare that we're discussing tonight. Let's dive into some of the coins. I mean, Larry's collection is amazing.
Let's do it.
I mean, the least grade we have here is across the board is MS-65. There's just over 100 pieces in his Morgan dollar set. 80% of them are CAC approved. I mean, James, you're very involved in the cataloging and production. I mean, you don't see too many invoices come back from CAC with that kind of percentage approval. So that's just something that's really amazing. And Larry's, as you'll see with almost all the coins tonight, Larry's collection was of mostly white coins. There are a few toners in there, notably the 93S and the 94S. But white with a little bit of toning was the byword here. And a little bit of a spoiler alert. Everyone knows the 89cc and the 93S are the keys to the series. Imagine a collection here where those are not going to be the subjects of discussion. I mean, a lot of these coins that we'll be going through tonight, I've never seen coins that anywhere approach the condition. The first among them is the coin on the screen, and James, maybe you can pop up the big photo there.
Yeah.
The 1884S silver dollar, MS-68 PCGS with CAC approval. I mean, just incredible. I mean, the average one that walks through our doors is VG, fine, VF if you're lucky. To have an MS-68 is incredible. I mean, why is this coin so significant, James?
Sure. So, like Viken suggested, the 1884S is not a very scarce issue in general. We see maybe a dozen or two every week here at the Stack Sparrows New York office. And this is really what we call a condition rarity. So, going back to the Bland-Allison Act, by 1884, we had been producing millions and millions of silver dollars. President Arthur remarked that although we struck 185 million up to that point, we'd only distributed 40 million. So that leaves 125 million coins sitting in vaults. So many of those early issues are quite common even in mint state, but that's not the case with the 84S. When these were struck, you have a mintage of about 3.2 million coins. A lot of these went directly into circulation. So because of that, this is a very common issue in circulated grades, really up through the lower AU grades. And then there really wasn't much left in Treasury vaults, and what was left was melted pursuant to the Pittman Act. So we're going back to those two issues of legislation. You have a mintage that shouldn't be that scarce, but because of the mass meltings, becomes an incredible rarity in mint state grades.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the image of this coin up on the screen, I mean, it's just dazzling. I mean, you got such strength of strike, the light toning, like a little bit of proof. Like it's if this were a common date 80S or 81S or something, you'd be impressed. But to have an 84S that looks like this is incredible. I don't believe, as you noted, James, there really wasn't a lot left over after the Pittman Act. There were no bags of these that came out during the various releases from the San Francisco Mint and the Treasury hoards and other private bank hoards that came out. There were evidently roll quantities that were out there, but the average 84S that's in mint state that exists today just doesn't have this kind of flash and luster and color and vibrancy that this piece does. So it's really a standout coin, and this coin has a great story of how it entered the numismatic marketplace. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So, unlike a lot of great rarities in American numismatics, some of these you can trace all the way back to maybe directly from the mint or, old Chapman sales. But with the Morgan Dollar series, these rarities have a relatively short provenance. But the story behind this one is very, very interesting. So it appeared at a Midwest coin show in the 1980s from dealer Chuck Walanka with another very significant coin that we'll talk about later in this webinar. But it was essentially sold to David Hall, who then sold it to collector George Bodway, and then it passed on to Jack Lee. So some of the greatest names in Morgan silver dollars handled this piece, and that's only going back 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, and this coin has been off the market for 20 years, more than 20 years, when it was last offered as part of the Jack Lee collection, which is one of the great names in modern numismatics as pertain to Morgan dollars. I mean, it's the pedigree to have with a Morgan silver dollar.
Absolutely.
When you say Jack Lee, that means quality when it comes to dollars. And to put this coin in perspective, there are about 2,000 grading events at PCGS and NGC for an MS68 Morgan silver dollar. So there's only one 1884S at this level, one out of 2,000. Only 400 of them have gained CAC approval. This one is CAC. So just the numbers are just incredible on this, that this piece has survived in this quality to come down to us today. And this is one coin that may break records on auction night. The current record for a Morgan silver dollar at auction is 881,000 and change. That was for an 1889 CC Morgan dollar, also an MS68, which we sold in our August 2013 auction. This will undoubtedly break that record, hopefully becoming the first Morgan dollar to sell for over $1 million at auction. So it's just an incredible coin, as is the next piece that we have, which is also a freak of survival in this quality. This 1886-0, you see some mint state pieces, but MS67 dimple with the CAC approval. Just incredible, James. Describe this coin for us.
Yeah, so I mean, Viken alluded to there's a combination of things that makes this a really, really spectacular coin. Obviously, you have incredible preservation. We see here on this image on our website. There's not a significant mark to be noted across the board. Liberty's cheek is nice and clean. The fields are nice and clean. But most importantly is the production quality of this piece. 67 deep mirror proof like by PCGS. It has incredible reflectivity in the fields, very, very sharp strikes, strong frosting on the devices. This comes from a relatively high mintage, 10.2 million coins. So to get this type of reflectivity and complexion on this issue is very, very scarce. This is obviously one of the very earliest coins struck from the dies, produced with incredible quality and then, potentially deliberately saved as one of the first coins. Again, to see an example from this issue at such a high grade level with such incredible production quality is very, very rare, nearly unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, there's only this one 67 dimple. I think the nearest one is maybe a 64 or 65 dimple. And, most other dimples of this date are a little bit more chattery in the fields. I mean, I can only agree that this was probably just plucked and put away a long time ago, maybe by someone at the mint, maybe as a gift, maybe as a presentation for somebody. Just an incredible coin. You don't even see other more common mints in dimple that have this kind of presence. So this one's just a real feat of survival. The average piece, the average 86.0 is a dull, much more dull and flatly struck in up and down the middle. So this piece is just crisp. And if I were to take a quick look at this on the screen without seeing the label and without seeing the reverse, I might think it's a proof.
Sure.
So this is a coin that was in the illustrious Jack Lee collection and is an old friend coming back to us. We sold it last in 1990 when it was part of our Chris Schenkel auction, and it kind of dazzled the audience then. I think it sold for 200,000 and change back in 1990 before the big run-ups in coin prices that you had in the 1990s into the 2000s. I remember selling some of the pieces from the E. Horatio Morgan collection where they were acquired in the late 1980s and early 1990s, things like 94S dimes and 1885 trade dollars that were acquired for less than $100,000, but they're selling for over $1 million today. So this is another one of those coins that was just an incredible survival and is another one of those candidates to break the $1 million barrier on auction night.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And another piece, James, that I'd love to pull up on the screen is that 92S, MS68 PCGS. And again, I'm taking it for granted, but all these coins that we're talking about tonight are top of the pop. They're single pieces at the very top, none finer. And this is another one of those pieces. James, let's talk about this 92S a little bit.
Sure. So, like Viken was saying, any one of these individual coins would be a major highlight at any auction, and to have all of them in one cabinet is really, really incredible. Yeah. So the 92S represents, a steep departure from the high mintages of earlier in the series. So you have a very, very low mintage here, 1.2 million struck, but it's not just the mintage that reflects the rarity, it's the distribution pattern. So if you look to another low mintage issue, like the 85cc, most of these, when they were struck, very few were distributed. Most of them went into vaults and then were later either paid out or distributed throughout the 20th century. So for an 85cc, we have many, many brilliant uncirculated examples, very few circulated examples. For the 92S, the opposite is true. So a lot of these were distributed immediately after being struck. They were circulated. So in worn condition, the 92S is not a very significant rarity. But in mint state, that's a totally different story. So very few were stored in vaults. The ones that were, a lot of those were melted pursuant to the Pittman Act of 1918. And what we're left with is this incredible mint state rarity, among which this MS-68 from the Miller collection is one of the finest known, and takes what is an overall rare issue in mint state, and this is essentially the pinnacle of that rarity.
Yeah, I mean, there's PCGS has graded only, I think, 70 or 70 plus pieces in mint state. I mean, you have in a few rolls of 81 S's or something, you have that many coins.
Sure.
In state. So just to put the rarity in stark perspective, this coin reminds me a little bit of the 93S silver dollar. That's the finest graded, the finest known 93S silver dollar, which we sold as part of the Vermeule collection way back in 2001. And it was back then when we got that collection in, it was in Waite Raymond boards built by Bucky, as we knew him, Cornelius Clarkson Vermeule, built by him. But many of the coins came from his grandfather, who had collected in the late 19th century, and might have gotten some of those coins from the mint. That 93S went into a 67 holder, and is the finest known of that. But just moving on to a New Orleans mint coin again, James.
Sure.
That 95.0 is incredible. It's the 1880s and 1890s New Orleans mint coinage are some of my favorites. I mean, some of them are so crudely made, so it's hard to find real high grade pieces, and this is just an incredible piece. MS-67 with CAC approval. I've the average 95.0 that you see, VF maybe. Lots and lots of, I shouldn't say lots, but a fair number of circulated examples, mint state ones, draw attention, whether they're MS-61 or MS-65.
Sure.
This one's an incredible 67. I mean, tell us a little about this piece.
Yeah. So, in my mind, at least, as an early Morgan dollar collector, the 1895, the date of 1895 really, it's a romantic kind of prized date across any mint. The 95.0, 95S, and of course the proofs from Philadelphia that year. But yeah, the 95.0, or I should say the rarity of that date overall is due to a few things. You no longer have the incredible subsidy of silver being purchased unnecessarily. You have the panic of 1893. So in general, the mintage quantities fell significantly. We have many high millions being struck in earlier years. And for this year, I believe it's only about 400,000 examples were struck. Of that, about 100,000 were distributed, and the vast majority were melted in 1918. So you have an already low mintage, and then you further reduce that supply. So the 95.0 is really scarce in any grade. I mean, even a circulated example is an important coin, but in mint state, they're very, very seldom to come by. In addition, you have incredible production challenges at the New Orleans Mint. At the time, they were just trying to crank out as many coins as they possibly could. And we see on a lot of contemporary issues, not only in Morgan silver dollars, but the gold coinage as well, that strike, quality, luster, these are all very, very significant challenges. And most 95.0s have terrible luster, pancake flat strike, and this coin really, is superior to all that, defies convention, and that's part of what makes it incredible. Not only was it preserved in a spectacular way, but it was produced, very, very deliberately.
And deliberately collected. I mean, this coin started out in the collection of great collector of Morgan dollars, Wayne Miller, who wrote the Morgan and Peace dollar textbook, published 1982. He brought it into the fold. His collection went to George Bodway. His Bodway's collection, or this coin, went to Jack Lee, and now is in the Miller collection. So it's basically followed the provenance chain of the royalty of Morgan dollar collectors. So your name could be next.
Yeah, certainly.
And, sticking around for 1895, the 1895S is another incredible piece. This one's another dimple deep mirror proof-like coin, MS67 with CAC approval. I mean, you see that picture up on the screen, and you just want to own it. I mean, the Revere, the Redfield hoard had several, or I associate the 95S date with the Redfield hoard. I mean, many coins in choice mint state condition, but I've never seen a Redfield hoard coin look like this. James, what makes this one so significant?
Sure. So, just looking at the picture on our website here, a remark that Viken made earlier about the 86O, I think also applies to this. If you're just looking at the front there, at a quick glance, you may confuse this for a proof. I mean, the strike is just so incredible. You have those deep watery fields, that richly frosted luster on the devices, a little bit of softness over the high points, but that's, this is far above what the typical example shows. And, a lot of the same principles that apply to the 95O apply to the 95S. You have, an overall low mintage to begin with due to economic circumstances. And then that mintage was further diminished by, melting in the 20th century. So again, an absolute rarity or absolute scarcity in some sense, but in mint state, very, very rare. And then with deep mirror proof-like complexion, virtually unprecedented in this combination.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this up on the screen, it's the strike of this dimple coin is just as strong as many proofs of the era, of some proofs of the era, I should say. It's not unusual to find a little bit of flatness right there in the hair above the ear, even on some otherwise gorgeous proofs that were minted
Sure.
then. So this is one that went. Jack Lee collected Morgan dollars serially. He built an amazing collection, sell it, built another amazing collection, sold it, and then built yet a third collection and sold it. This was, I believe, in all three collections, which are known as Jack Lee 1, 2, and 3, obviously enough. Staying on the thread of San Francisco mint coins, the next one is one of my favorites here. When I first found out that we were selling this incredible coin, I almost fell over. To have a MS69 by PCGS 96S silver dollar was just incredible. The MS69 grade, even though Morgan dollars come very high quality, is rare in the entire series. I believe there are only about 15 at both grading services. All of them are common dates, 80S, 81S, I believe. Here's a 96S, an absolute outlier. And this coin kind of brings us full circle to that 1884S that we discussed at the top of the list, brought into the marketplace by PCGS founder David Hall. This coin came with it. I mean, to buy the 84S and the 96S in one transaction, mind you, this was circa 1980. So in an era when these coins were raw. So imagine being able to hold these two superb gems in hand. James, I know we're kind of beating a dead horse here, but this coin is incredible. Top pop. What else makes this special? Why would you own this?
Sure. I mean, as I alluded to in the beginning of this program, the Morgan Dollar series, we see many tens of thousands of them every year as part of our everyday interactions, auction production, dealing with collectors, and it's very hard to get super excited about many of them. This is something totally different. MS69, this is a grade that we more often associate with modern silver eagles than anything from the 19th century. I mean, this is just a really incredible piece. I mean, for, Viken mentioned there are a few other 69s, but those are in, the incredibly common issues, the 81S, the 80S. These are things that, you can find in MS67 without too much difficulty. This example here just blows anything out of the water in terms of rarity. Not an overall rare issue. You have about 5 million struck. Of course, the same concepts apply as the other coins we talked about today. Few were distributed, many were melted under the Pittman Act. But even those that did survive, the mint state examples that did survive, they're often plagued by bag marks, other signs of handling, exposure to moisture, these different issues that, don't quite count as circulation, but confine the grades to, 62, 63, 64, 65 even. At 69, this is just an incredible piece. In many ways, it is perhaps the pinnacle representative of the Morgan-Dollar series. Just incredible execution, beautiful, really a standout highlight of any collection, and even more impressive to be joined together with so many rarities in the Miller collection.
Yeah, I mean, your comparison to a silver eagle is kind of informative, because you wonder why this coin exists so fine. I mean, these Morgan dollars were literally, minted. They went into tote bins, into bags, jingling. Someone had to have, plucked this from the dies and saved it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something like George Clapp, whose collection went to Eliasberg, had bought coins directly from the mint in this era, and in fact had bought a 96S directly from the San Francisco Mint that we offered in the when we sold the Eliasberg collection. So this had to be that kind of miracle of survival, where you have this MS69 grade. The next lowest grade, the next grade I should say, is MS67. So there's a 2-point spread between this finest known and the second finest graded at PCGS. So just an incredible coin. Again, a scarce issue in mint state, but just this coin blows me away.
Mm-hmm.
So James, in a short few minutes, we've gone through a half dozen of Larry Miller's greatest coins, and there are many more. And as we said at the top of the presentation, if you guys have any questions on any other Miller coins, whatever they may be, feel free to write into us. If you have questions about anything else in our multitude of auction sessions that you see on the screen, feel free to reach out. If me or James don't know the answer, we've got a fabulous set of colleagues to lean on to get those questions answered for you. And this will be one in a continuing line of auction previews that we'll be holding. We'll be doing some more Zoomsmatics next month when we feature part 2 of the Larry Miller collection. And in that auction, we'll be featuring his amazing typeset of coins, mostly AU to superb gem mint state coins from the 1790s into the 20th century. Fantastic coins. That sale will be going online imminently, so keep your eyes on stacksbowers.com for updates about that and to review those coins. In addition to the typeset, you'll have his collections of Indian head cents, 2-cent pieces, as well as all 3 of the Barber denominations. So, and of course, being from Utah, he has 6 or 7, James, fantastic Mormon gold pieces from the 2.5 to the 20. Just fantastic quality, and a Mormon 20 and EF45, I believe. So just still trying to wrap my head around the entirety of the collection. So
yeah, the Mormon gold in part 2 in the December sale is really incredible. Like Viken said, a full suite, 6 pieces. Most of them are certified by CAC. So in addition to rarity, you have incredible quality, just like we saw with the Morgan silver dollars. Then joining the Morgan dollars as part of the typeset, you have an $1804. You have a $1794. You have a bunch of other incredible rarities, an 1894S proof Barber dime. So if Morgan dollars aren't necessarily your bag, we'll definitely have something for you in the upcoming December sale of Miller Part 2.
And for those, we do have one parting question from our audience inquiring about how to acquire one of the Miller collection catalogs. Just email me or James, or email info@stacksbowers.com. We'll get one out to you. If you're not on our mailing list already, we'll just include your address and we'll get one out to you ASAP. So if there are no further questions, James, thank you for your help this evening.
Of course.
Thank you to all of you out there on the West Coast, in the middle of the country, on the East Coast, all around the world who have joined us this evening. Join us again next month for the December Zoomsmatics featuring the Larry H. Miller collection, part 2. Until then, have a good evening, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Viken, see you later. Take care.